But since we're on the topic of trades, that's what I'm like with Davante. Let's go over Cleveland Browns. They were apparently in the running, wanting to trade for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson said no to the Seahawks. He was the first team they declined. I believe he has now turned down the Colts. The Texans turned. They refused to listen to calls from the Colts. He wants to go there, but
Colts don't have any picks this year, so
it's within his division. They refused to trade Deshaun to a division rival. So Colts are out, Seahawks are out. After today, the Browns are now. Deshaun says he will not play for the Browns. But during that time, Baker Mayfield released a thank you letter to Cleveland, saying I've done everything I could for the city. My wife and I love it. Fans have been great.
Mutual interest, or mutual that we decide to move on or something like that.
Yep, and then formally requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns today, and he was formally denied a trade. The Browns stated they will not be honoring his request.
Yeah, they said they were only going to look at elite quarterback options to
replace him. Yep, and they weren't going to replace him with a Trubisky. They weren't going to replace him with a Mariota. They're only going to replace him with a Kaepernick or a Deshaun Watson.
Well, I mean Trubisky.
Oh, not MVP. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. I know a lot of people hate Baker. They say that he's terrible. I just think that if it was on a different team, so many people would feel differently. If he didn't have the attitude he had, people would feel differently.
Yeah.
All of his stats he played injured last year.
Right.
So his stats were the first 6 games, he was he was a top 10 quarterback in football. Broke his collarbone and then fell off a cliff.
Yep.
It's oh, weird. A quarterback can't play with a broken collarbone. What a surprise. His rookie year was incredible. His second year was not great. But, I mean, you took a team that hadn't made the playoffs in over a decade and you brought them to the playoffs. A bad quarterback can't do that. I do not think he's an elite quarterback.
Hey. Christian Ponder led us to the playoffs.
Like I said, a bad quarterback could not do that. Christian Ponder that year was not bad, in my opinion. He was bad the rest of his career, but that year he wasn't, which is why we would have beat the Packers if it wasn't Joe Webb.
There we go. There it is. The hill will die
on. I think Kirk's better. Obviously, Kirk's better than him, right. But he's better than what Justin Fields showed you as a rookie. He's better than what Jalen Hurts has showed you.
The Bears fans that were Bears fans at the end of the year that were see, this is why we would rather have Justin Fields than Kirk. Justin Fields was the worst out of every rookie quarterback, starting quarterback, stat-wise in the entire league. So
I have a hard time.
I'm not saying Justin Fields is bad.
Right.
I'm not saying that
was it worse than Zach Wilson?
I mean, it was I want to say his stats were 31st out of starting quarterbacks or something like that, 31st and lower. So
I just think Baker's one of those he's better than what Justin Fields showed. He's better than Zach Wilson. He's better than Jalen Hurts is what he's been doing.
Well, no, he did better. He probably did better than Trevor Lawrence too. I mean,
he's better than what Trevor Lawrence showed you. Yeah. He's better than there's multiple He's better than Drew Lock. He's better than Daniel Jones.
I think it's one of those things where Baker does need more more help from the people around him. The people you're comparing him to outside of Drew Lock, it's the teams around the players around him aren't great. Whereas Drew Lock should have been good in Denver. He had all those weapons and everything, but Jags team sucks, Jets suck, Bears aren't that good.
But the Jags have weapons. They got multiple good receivers and running back. Yeah. The Giants have multiple weapons.
Yeah.
In terms of weapon-wise, obviously their offensive lines aren't elite.
Baker had really good pieces when they made the playoffs. They made a run in the playoffs last year, right?
Yeah.
So they had a really good team around him. So obviously I think most of the time, if you have a good quarterback with great players around him, it can make that quarterback great. So I think that's kind of the same thing for Baker. Yeah. He needs great players around him. And if he doesn't necessarily have great players around him, you're going to see his flaws.
I think he floats somewhere between 15th to 20th best QB in the league.
I'm sure we could find him in that mix.
Around that 20 spot, which means you have to have a perfect situation to go deep into the playoffs. And if you don't, you always have to keep your eye out for an upgrade.
Yeah.
And I think that defines Baker perfectly. Like when everything went right, when they were a completely healthy team and they got like good coaching and all that sort of thing, they made it to the playoffs and they were in a good situation.
Yeah.
As soon as, you know, you got an injury here, you got some issues in the locker room there, all of a sudden they fell off. Like he's in that situation where he just happens to need everything to be perfect, which the odds of that happening on any NFL team is low. So I don't think Baker Mayfield's a bad quarterback. If he was a backup, he would be the best backup in football.
Sure.
In my and that might not necessarily be a compliment, especially to Baker Mayfield, but like if he's a backup, he's the best backup in football.
Yeah, it's not wrong.
It's if he wanted to change his role, change how he viewed himself, if he tried to play more like Jimmy G as opposed to thinking he's still that Heisman
I think that
winner.
Would be a huge, I think that would be a huge deal for him if he played safer, didn't take too many risks.
Right, which is just him. That's he relies on. He plays with the confidence that he protrudes, which very confident person.
Right.
Jimmy G is like the quiet confidence that he'd rather play it safe so that he's in it for the long haul, while Baker is trying to play a little bit more dangerously to prove himself.
Right.
It's that chip on his shoulder that everybody always says he has, and.
Sure.
If he toned it down and played like Jimmy G, which would be completely changing his entire attitude, and I don't think it would happen. If he did that, he becomes that guy that people are arguing. Is he a winner? Is he a starting quarterback?
Right.
He keeps playing like he is. He's just one of those guys that's going to fall out.